Hey, hello dear students. Today we will talk about a very important topics. Most of the students get confused about this. Okay, we're going to talk about the pollination and fertilization. So जो भी student confused हो रहे हैं यहाँ पे please ध्यान दीजिए. Pay attention here. We're going to talk about in detail and very smooth manner that what is actually pollination, what is fertilization. Okay, so let's talk about the first differentiation between pollination and the fertilization. So moment I say pollination. Okay, so what is a pollination? Yes, pollination is nothing but the transfer of the pollen grain. The transfer of pollen grain. Now, what is pollen grain? Pollen grain is nothing but the male gametophyte. Yes or no? The pollen grain is what? Male gamete in plants. Okay, so pollen grain is male gamete. Now, where it is getting transferred? The transfer of pollen grain to the stigma. Okay, to the stigma. Now, everybody knows that stigma is nothing but the having the sticky, yeah, sticky liquid. So, suppose I'm talking about this is the okay, this is the stigma, this is the style, and this is a ovary, for example. In this case, what going to happen? In this case, what going to happen? The stigma, we know that it is a sticky liquid. So this is a ovary, we can say that. So this is anther and this is filament. It's commonly called as a androecium, male gametophyte. No, the male gametophyte is your pollen grain. Pollen grain contains into what? Sporangium? No, it's into the anther. So anther, this is a filament, this is a anther. Inside the anther, there are pollen grains. Okay, so these pollen grains are transferred from anther to the stigma. The moment they transfer here, the pollination process is done. So what is the pollination exactly? The transfer of pollen grain from the anther part towards the stigma part. It can be of same, it can be of different. So if the pollen grain is transferring on the same flower, it's called as a self-pollination. And the pollen grain from the different anther is falling on the different stigma of the gynoecium part. It's called a cross pollination. Okay. Now, as we are going to discuss what is exactly pollination and versus the fertilization. So when I'm talking about the pollination, this point is very much clear to you. So can I say what is pollination exactly? The transfer of the pollen grain. Okay. And the moment I'm going to talk about the fertilization. Fertilization in a plant. So what is fertilization exactly? The moment I say fertilization, that means pollen grain. Pollination is already done. So can I say that pollination is required earlier to happen the fertilization? Exactly clear. Yes. So the fertilization is what? It's the fusion of male gamete and the female gamete, okay, to form a zygote. Which zygote is here? Here is a seed we're going to talk about. Okay. So when the fusion of the male gametophyte and female gametophyte is fertilization. So what is male gametophyte here? A pollen in case of plant, obviously. And female gametophyte is what? Ova. So can I say that the pollination is the first most process, and after the pollination, definitely the fertilization is going to happen. So in this case, male gametophyte is there, pollen grain is there, okay, and then female gametophyte is there. So as we discuss, this is a stigma, for example, and this is a ovum. Okay, what going to happen whenever there is a pollination process is done? Then what going to happen? See, मैं थोड़ा zoom करके बता रहा हूँ, इतनी डरावनी डायग्राम नहीं होगी. Okay, so this is what pollen grains are there. These pollen grains get a nutrition. जैसे ही वो वहां पे आ जाता है, they get a nutrition over there, and once they get a nutrition, they form. Suppose they get a nutrition. I'm just talking about 2, 3 pollen grains in a zoom format. So once they get nutrition, okay, they will start growing like this. Okay, they will start growing like this. What is this? A pollen tube. So what is happening exactly? What is happening exactly here? Once they get a nutrition, they form a pollen tube over here. Okay, so this is a sigma. And here, let's talk about one pollen grain is sticking. Okay, it's get a nutrition. Okay, this is one pollen grain. They get a nutrition, then it is going to form a pollen tube. Okay, the pollen tube is going to carry a two sperms. How many sperms is going to carry? Two sperm. Okay, and the pollen tube itself has a pollen nuclei. So this two male gametophyte or two sperm is going to here. What is there? Ova will be there. Inside the ovum, there is a ova will be there. So what is the fertilization? This continue to grow. This definitely continue to grow, and it is going to fuse with the egg cell. That is ova is over here. Okay, so and this male gametophyte is going to transfer into here. So what is the fertilization? See, there is a post-fertilization process is pollination. Fertilization is a combination of fusion of male gametophyte and female gametophyte. And after fertilization, there is a formation of cells that we're going to study in the next class. But right now, I'm here to tell you pollination versus fertilization. So pollination is transfer of pollen grain. Fertilization is whatever the pollen grain has transferred, that is now in stigma. It's going to get a nutrition from there. There will be the formation of pollen tube. The pollen tube is going to carry the two male gametophyte, that is two sperm, towards the ova. Definitely. So this process comes under the fertilization. So those students had the problem earlier. Problem is clear right now. So what is pollination and fertilization is very much clear to you. Okay. So let's meet in the next class for the detailed study of the fertilization. Thank you.